What was something your neighbor did you found hilarious? When I moved into Maplewood Crescent, I thought I was stepping into one of those real estate commercials, the kind where everyone wears pastel sweaters and drinks lemonade while talking about property appreciation. The lawns looked like they'd been cut by lasers. The driveways sparkled like showroom floors. And even the air smelled more expensive than usual. And then there was me, the new guy with the 2008 Toyota Corolla. It wasn't ugly. Not really. Just experienced. The paint was faded to a sunset rust kind of orange. The left mirror had a crack that made everything look like a funhouse reflection. And there was a small dent that told the story of a grocery cart gone rogue. Still, it ran smoothly. I'd owned it for years, paid off the house fair and square, and honestly, I was proud. But apparently, pride wasn't part of the Maplewood package. The first day, my next-door neighbor, Mrs. Caldwell, came over holding a tray of cookies and an expression that could sour milk. She wore pearls, perfume, and passive aggression. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she said, scanning my driveway like it personally offended her. "Lovely house you've bought here. We don't get many new faces." "Thanks," I said, shaking her hand. "Nice to be here." She smiled tightly. "I see you haven't upgraded your vehicle yet." I laughed, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. "Well," I said, "it gets me from A to B." Her smile didn't budge. "Yes, but in this neighborhood, people expect to get there in style." I bit back a grin. "Style's overrated. Reliability's sexier." She blinked at me like I'd just cursed in a church, mumbled something about standards, and left me, with her cookies oatmeal raisin, dry ones. By week 2, I'd gotten used to the stairs. Every time I drove home from work, garage doors mysteriously opened so neighbors could get something from the trunk. Translation: they wanted a good look at my disgrace on four wheels. Then the notes started. The first one appeared on my windshield. "Your car doesn't fit the aesthetic of Maplewood Crescent. Kindly consider upgrading for the sake of the community." No name. No signature. Just a neighborhood-style ransom note in cursive. I ignored it. But a few days later, there was another. "Some of us invest heavily in our homes. Please don't reduce the value." Reduce the value. What was I? A sinkhole. I tried to keep a sense of humor about it. I even washed the car, polished the headlights, and gave it a good wax. For a few hours, the Corolla gleamed like it was auditioning for a car commercial. I thought maybe that would calm them down. It didn't. That evening, Mrs. Caldwell cornered me near the mailbox. "Still keeping that car?" "I see," she said sweetly. "You know, a neighbor down the road trades his cars every 2 years. He says it helps property perception." "Good for him," I said, unlocking my mailbox. "I trade mine every decade. Builds character." She frowned. "Some people think it makes the street look lower class." "Oh, good," I said, smiling. I always wanted to add diversity. Her jaw dropped. I walked away before she could reload. The breaking point came 3 weeks later. I caught Mrs. Caldwell standing in my driveway, snapping pictures of my car from multiple angles like a paparazzo at a scandal scene. "What are you doing?" I asked, holding a grocery bag. "Evidence," she said matter-of-factly. "You'll be hearing from my lawyer." I laughed. "You're suing me? For owning a car?" "Not just owning," she said, folding her arms, persistently displaying a vehicle that degrades community value. I thought she was bluffing, until a week later. A man in a suit handed me a thick envelope. Inside, a lawsuit. Violation of community standards and aesthetic devaluation. I nearly choked on my coffee reading it. The claims were wild: that my car created visual discord, discouraged prospective buyers, and failed to meet the neighborhood's established prestige. My lawyer, Mr. Daniels, an easygoing guy with a permanently amused expression, read it and chuckled. "This," he said, "is the pettiest thing I've seen in 20 years of practice." "Can she actually win?" I asked. He leaned back. "Oh, no. But she can make it annoying." And annoying it was. Neighbors whispered. The HOA pretended to be neutral, but several members sent me friendly suggestions for dealerships. My Corolla became the street mascot, the uninvited one. One morning, as I left for work, someone had taped a flyer to my car. "Help preserve Maplewood's prestige. Say no to rusty relics." Mrs. Caldwell waved from across the street. "Just community awareness," she said. The case made it to small claims court. By then, a local reporter had picked up the story. Woman sues neighbor over unfashionable car. Suddenly, I was the Corolla guy. People online took sides. Hashtag Let the Corolla Live started trending on social media. The courtroom was packed. Even people who didn't know me came just to see if it was real. Mrs. Caldwell walked in dressed like she was attending a royal wedding. Pearls, heels, designer bag, all the trimmings. She carried a binder thick with photos. My car, at sunrise. My car, at dusk. My car, in the rain. My car with a leaf on it. "Your Honor," she began, "we live in an exclusive community. We maintain high standards of visual presentation. This vehicle," she pointed dramatically at a photo, "lowers the tone of our environment." The judge blinked. "You're suing because his car isn't fancy enough?" "Yes, Your Honor," she said proudly. "It impacts property perception." The judge leaned back, unimpressed. "And has the defendant broken any laws? Zoning rules? Parking restrictions?" "No," she admitted, but then I'm not sure what you expect me to do, the judge said dryly. We don't legislate taste. My lawyer stood and said, Your Honor, my client's only crime is driving a reliable car. If that's illegal, half the country's in trouble. Laughter rippled through the courtroom. The judge smiled faintly, then dismissed the case with prejudice, meaning she couldn't refile it even if she tried. Mrs. Caldwell turned crimson. As we left the courtroom, someone from the audience shouted, Team Corolla. For weeks after, Mrs. Caldwell avoided me. She started mowing her lawn aggressively whenever I came outside. The roar of her mower timed perfectly to drown out any attempt at peace. But the world had already taken notice. News stations covered the story. Late-night hosts cracked. Jokes about rich neighborhoods. Under threat from affordable sedans, someone even made T-shirts with my car's photo and the slogan, Reliable, affordable, unstoppable. Ironically, the media attention made Maplewood Crescent famous. Property interest actually went up. Real estate agents bragged about living on the street where the car lawsuit happened. One morning, I found a package at my door. No return address. Inside was a sleek, custom car cover fitted perfectly for a 2008 Toyota Corolla with a note that read, Don't let the rich bullies win. Corolla forever. That Saturday, I washed the car until it sparkled, then parked it proudly in the driveway, uncovered, while Mrs. Caldwell glared from her porch. I gave her a little wave. Morning. She muttered something that sounded like property values and stormed inside. I grinned, got in my car, and turned the key. The engine purred like a cat with nothing to prove. In a neighborhood obsessed with appearances, I guess I'd become the one thing they couldn't polish away: authenticity.